Here we go, and it is time for another sprint zone. This one's for 10/7/2025, and let's get into the action. But before we start, I should like to thank Mr. Ron Kennedy for his telemetry, along with Dr. John Kraft for his telemetry, and of course, Ron always with his video, which you can see currently in the upper right-hand corner in the Ron cam. And you can see that Daniel's up front wearing the wonderful, TFR kit. A lot of people have ordered this, and there's a good shot of it there on the screen here. Once again, special thanks to Jacob Robinson for designing this kit. I especially like the colors. I couldn't decide which one to get, so I got both. Love the neon, the high vis yellow, and the blue is so sublime that when you're on a club ride, it doesn't scream like Racer Boy or like Club A Ride Idiot. In any case, I digress, and we get back to the action. We got Daniel and Tyler up front, and they were up front doing a lot of work, maybe too much work, as I generally like to get some kind of warm up on the way. And as this group was founded, there was lots of rotation and practice. As other people come into the group, we get away from that. But more digression, and I'll talk about that later. In any case, here we go. Into the melee zone, and it is game on. A lot of people here, and as always, most are adhering to the rules of engagement, where we must wait until everyone gets around the corner before we start. And this whole yo-yo effect, it is demonstrably difficult. And I'll digress once again. I was on the OCR ride, and there were a couple of riders up front that went around corners. And if I was at the back, I had to throw out like 500-600 watts just to get back on. And with everyone closing gaps way too quickly, it just made things horrible. But anyway, that's why we do the whole let's wait for everybody in the sprint zone. So got the action here. It looks like Ron Kennedy going to the front from the breakaway cycling team. Got Jim Allman behind him, and now taking his pull here. And it looks like perhaps there is some coordinated effort by the breakaway boys to throw the cats amongst the pigeons. So far, none of the groups, and I'll call them out, that would be Provello or Force City or Rio or Old School or any of the teams that show up, or at least folks wearing the same kit, have not gotten anything coordinated. But it looks like maybe there's something happening there with the breakaway squad. Maybe they're going to like set a new precedent. In any case, Jimmy Allman out on the front, tapping out a tempo. And it looks like no one really wants to go there. Ron, his teammate, right behind him. And unfortunately, I don't have any telemetry because my power meter was like not working and my heart rate monitor, I forgot. So we got John's and we got Ron's to look at. Ron throwing out some good wattage, 30-second power, 247. And you can see JC back in the pack, his 30-second power much lower than Ron's. So a lot of people don't really realize the further back in the group, the better the draft. And there's a lot of riders that are good at riding coattails. They'll get themselves in like, maybe 6th through like 10th position, and they are sitting pretty. Not willing to do work, but they have gotten good draft. Up front, it looks like we've gone double up here. Daniel always willing to work. Jimmy Allman always looking to hurt some boys out there. And it looks like not a lot of people want to attack just yet. Not a lot of people want to string this out. Ron's power down to 116 30-second power. So everyone is pretty relaxed at this point. If I were Daniel up the front, I would have gotten off. He pretty much pulled the entire way up County Road 5, and that's got to be taking some of his strength away. There are strong men, the heads of state, just sitting in while you do their bidding. But it looks like Daniel has had enough up there. But Jimmy, looking to go hard, and no one wants to go. Looking at the Ron cam, you can see the little bit of a gap that Jim has, and he's not looking back. Doesn't want any help, doesn't need any help. He's trying to make things happen here. Daniel looking awfully comfortable out in the wind, and I'm like, this is energy being bled off. But to each his own. Some people just want to get a good workout. There's a good shot of folks up front. We got Anna in that like Christmas looking jersey. a definite standout from her normal, like, bright pink kit. Looks good. Looking rearward, we got John, who's come back from out of state in the red there, looking strong. We got Fred, who's always an antagonist on the OCR ride, sitting in, riding coattails. I'm hoping that I have seen his strength, that he would make a little more happen on these rides. Once again, digression and my commentary. But Jimmy Allman out front and no one wanting to do anything. And it's right that Ron not bring his teammate back. He should wait for somebody else to bring him in. Steve Hyland wearing the Pooter Sunrise kit represented there, looking strong, just keeping Jimmy in check. And these are riders that ride with each other regularly, so they know everybody's strength. Ron keeping Jimmy honest, not doing any work here, but now it is my turn to get a little closer to the front here. Too many people sitting in, not wanting to do anything. I'm sitting behind Daniel, and this is usually a good spot to be. Mr. Hyland there, just not looking to do much of anything, keeping Jimmy in check. And I'm now where I want to be, not back with the rabble, the NPCs, the people who are not willing to do any work, so that I will find myself in a position that when things are ready to go, that I am ready. And to quote Snoop Dogg, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And I want to be in that position of readiness. Daniel just looking way too comfortable at the front, just like bleeding off energy, not wanting any help or whatever, and kind of letting this gap open to Steve Hyland, which was kind of annoying me a little bit. I'm like, inside my head, I'm like, dude, get the F out of my way. But I'm not going to waste the energy here. And perhaps, wisdom has taught me to be a little more patient. Ron just saying that they're not looking for any help. In fact, this is perhaps disrespect. Perhaps the respect that Steve had in the old days where we could not let him go, and he has checked out many times, is no longer there. And perhaps this is the game that is being played. In any case, I'm boxed in here, got Fred to my left here, and that little kit he's got with the jacket open, lots of watts being bled off. And there looks like a shot. Is that like Angelo of the TTH fame there in the green? Perhaps. Looking strong. And here's where I get just pushed to the back. Daniel does not go. He does not have the strength to go with this. Ron does. And I watch all these sucklings shuffle me to the back. I was not happy about that one. And so for every one of these, I learned something. And if I see that happening again, I'm like, I'm going to have to say something, or I'm not going to put myself in that position. In any case, I'm way back here. JC has attacked. We looked at his numbers. I didn't call them out, but there was like 800 watts of power being thrown down there, and now there's a gap. I'm like, ugh. And I'm looking at who I'm back here with. Marcelo on the gravel bike's not going to do any work. Ron's looking strong. He can do some work, but he was up front doing way too much work. It looks like, was that Rich heading back there with the coat open? And it looks like we got Carl in the yellow with somebody on his wheel chasing JC's posse, and it's got a strong brake. Oh, there's a good shot of me in Ron's Ron cam there with my Teletubby thing. And I'm not happy to be back here this far. I mean, I'm not feeling great, but I'm not feeling bad either. And I had energy to bleed off here. And selection is starting to be made here. And here we go. We got Jonathan and Marcelo. Marcelo on the gravel bike. That's cool. It's pushing a lot of wind. Jonathan did a lot of work to help bring these people back. And it's like my turn to go, okay, we're going to bring back JC. We're going to bring him back. Nice echelon up here. And normally these people have checked out. But I know I've got some strong men here. I got Ron with me, and I know Ron is willing to work. So, and to my surprise, we are starting to bring people back. There's nobody else in this group that's going to do any work. Maybe Rich would do some work. But, and here Ron makes this final push. I don't want to slide back just yet. So I'm going to bleed some watts off to stay in the out of the draft here so that I am close to getting myself into contention. So I slot in here. John is nice to let me in. Or maybe he wasn't nice and I wasn't asking. I was going to push myself in there anyhow. People dancing on the yellow line back there. That's good. Nobody has crossed it yet. And it is Grupo Compacto. And this does not happen. Like, I was having a conversation with JC earlier, and I believe he was surprised that everybody was together. So here I am back here, almost guttered against the yellow line. We got Anna in front of me, strong rider, smooth rider. She's not going to make any horrible acceleration. So I'm pretty happy to be on her wheel. Everybody looking pretty strong here. JC just not asking for any help. Look at the wattage there. 330 instantaneous watts, 300 watts 30-second. And this is a strong enough effort that not many people want to go around at this point. And of course, JC's not asking for any help. Look at that. 350 watts, 330 30-second power. Most impressive. And now Ron moves over a little bit, because he was wiggle wagging back there. And Anna slots in with an assertive move and takes Ron's position away. That's only the kind of move I would have done if I was racing. I would have assumed that Ron was being benevolent and was moving over a little bit so that those behind would get more draft. But in any case, Ron had been forced out into the wind. And he wasn't, I don't know if he was pleased about it, but, tactically, I'm certain he would have done different if he was racing. Anyway, Ron goes up the inside, getting himself a good position. I slot in, still behind Anna. We got Bryce there looking really strong. And I'm really happy to be here at this point. Bummer, I didn't have a power meter, so I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm probably on the rivet. And I'm just waiting for things to happen. Nice little echelon here now as Anna has been pushed out of the draft. And here we go. Everybody goes hard. And I'm like, okay, what do we got here? And we push. And I'm like, okay. And there's Steve Hyland. So I know if I've at least finished somewhere near Steve Hyland, things aren't bad. Almost a little bit of a questionable violation of the yellow line rule here. The optics there weren't great. The reason we have the yellow line rule is so the cars can pass. And when you're that close on the edge, it's questionable. But we will let that slide at this time. We may have to go take a look at that one again, as we want to keep safe. And if you want to go for it, it is your responsibility to be in a position where you can go for it without having to do that. So let's just kind of fast forward up here through here. And let's see, we got the little turnaround. And got that nice little trailer. I don't want to blow that one off because that was pretty cool. And so we'll go back here and see if we can show that, or maybe not. That bummer here. Bummer. In any case, a good time was had by all. Peace out, everyone.